specialists in Jewish mysticism know there are two aspects to the Ark of the Covenant, the box and the throne. And most often we're talking about the box. Today, we're going to talk about the throne aspect. And when Yahweh wanted to come down to earth, he would manifest on his Ark throne and put his feet on the footstool. And the idea is that, wait a minute, he is rainbow-like? Is he in his rainbow body too? Their faces are like the vision of a bride. Their wings are like the radiance of the clouds of glory. The word glory means to glow rays. So they're telling us that these beings are luminous, humanoid, rainbow-like, and they glow rays. Now I'm just putting a cheesy plasma ball on top of this here so you get the idea that when they show the feathers on these beings, they're probably not wearing capes or cloaks of feathers. It's the feathery-like nature of the plasma that's being described here. These are super fast-moving plasma light beings, and that when we see them to our human eye, in our narrow range of human perception, we're seeing them or describing them as feathered. But they're really not feathered. They're plasma-like. And another cheesy plasma ball put on top just to... I need to get some new animations, I realize that, but you get the idea. The Dead Sea Scrolls, the seraphim, are described in detail. Why? Because the Essenes claim they were living with these beings. We'll talk about that tomorrow. And in the Dead Sea Scroll 4Q405, they tell us that these holy angels, they described them as the holy angels of the Lord, come and go from between the whirling wheels, that's the Red Wing Hot Wheels, like a fiery vision of the most holy spirits, and around them stream rivulets of molten fire like incandescent bronze, a radiance of many brilliant colors of exquisite hues gloriously mingled. You ever hear the story of the many-colored garment? They wear it. It's shimmering. It's like gold, shot with gold rivulets, and a radiance of many brilliant colors, exquisite hues, gloriously mingled. This is a human describing one of these extraterrestrial intelligences that is manifested on Earth, probably at Qumran or Mount Carmel, and they're trying to describe for others the experience of being around one of these beings. And here you see the Ophanum, the Red Wing Hot Wheels again.
And this ties in now with Edgar Cayce, is that this is a map of the Sphinx, and we did this seismically. Do you see the paws, right? This is not the right paw. This is the left paw of the Sphinx. The right paw if you were facing the Sphinx. But we have the left paw, the right paw. Do you see the head, the body? We found a cavity under the paw here. But there's a cavity under the paw, and who talked about halls of records of the Atlanteans? 10,000 plus BC or so. Edgar Cayce, of course. Have we heard a lot about Edgar Cayce? When I first did this work, had I heard of Edgar Cayce? Well, no, the truth is I was not so ignorant that never heard of Edgar Cayce, but I didn't know anything really about Edgar Cayce, and I didn't know that he had talked about halls of records or the Atlanteans and all that type of thing. And he actually had predicted something. Oh, when I was there recently, when was it, Katie? I don't know where Katie went, but yeah, recently they let me sit at Edgar Cayce's original desk.
I wrote my first book about the discovery of the first European pyramids. And then in that book, I wrote that we were going to discover a network of prehistorical tunnels. And then I got attacked. That compact material, the pyramid builders made tunnels, get the material out. What did they do with the material, with the stones and rocks and sand? They used it to make those concrete blocks. The only thing they did, they added the binder. Not cement, they didn't go to Home Depot, but they used clay, all natural materials. There is a direct link between the tunnels and the pyramid. So we know that they are the same builders.
I'm just going to show you this brief clip from the show because we've been researching a place called Rockingham, Vermont, which is just over the border of Massachusetts. And this is from Search for the Lost Giants. I'm just going to show you this, and I'll explain more as we go along. But it just gives you a brief interlude from my English voice.
Jim and team member Hugh Newman are hunting for a giant skeleton reportedly unearthed 160 years ago, but which eventually vanished.
I wanted to look into town history, Rockingham, Vermont, 1907.
Jim is hoping obscure town records will help them track down the discovery, made along the Connecticut River, just outside of Rockingham, Vermont.
So this is the site in question. This area right here. So in 1849, they built the Cheshire Railroad here. And when they uncovered the ledges right above there, they found something they didn't expect. So you can see like a dozen of these round faces with antenna-like projections coming out of them.
Discovered in the 1800s, the carvings are believed to be hundreds or perhaps even thousands of years old. Some say they were carved by members of an indigenous people, the Abenaki, to ward off evil spirits, or to commemorate a bloody battle that took place near the river long ago. But there's another theory. Although many of the petroglyphs have been destroyed or worn away, earlier sketches depict additional skull-like symbols, larger than the rest, and possessing details that resemble protruding teeth.
And Egyptologists have said, nah, there's no way that the ancient Egyptians could have done that. They wouldn't have had that knowledge to extract the DMT from the bark of Acacia nilotica. But let's ask ourselves, where do we get the word chemistry from? Does anybody know? We get the word chemistry from the ancient name for Egypt, Kemit. The Arabs spoke of alchemit. That's where we get alchemy from. The very word chemistry is rooted in the name of ancient Egypt. And therefore, I think it's highly likely that their reverence for the tree of life was not only to do with how it looked, but to do with the experiences it unleashed. And I think we can probably say that we do know what the ancient Egyptians were smoking. So, the second shrine of Tutankhamun's tomb. You can see it in the Cairo Museum. What we see here is the initiate connected. There's stars in the sky, and then you can see rays coming down from the stars into the forehead, into the third eye of the initiate. I mean, this has got to be a highly significant scene, very meaningful scene that somehow the star energy is entering through the third eye of the initiate. And it's fascinating, really, when we talk of the third eye, the pineal gland, how much ancient Egyptian symbolism there is that appears to relate to that. This is a meme that's going around on the internet, but it's actually very interesting. The eye of Horus compared to the pineal gland is very similar indeed. And this pine cone symbolism that we find in ancient Egypt is absolutely intriguing. Let's jump over to the other side of the world. I showed this slide last night, the aerial shot of Tiwanaku, the Kalasasea and the Akapana pyramid. There are also huge statues in Tiwanaku. And the ancient astronaut lobby love these statues. And they say that these are alien ray guns, which the statues are holding in their hands. That's a suggestion that it's some kind of alien technology.
There's another interesting symbol that caught my eye right away. And when you orient it properly, right, something jumps out. Found in a Native American burial mound. I don't think he was Cherokee or whatever they called themselves 2,000 years ago in that region. Now, you see the dot? Not sure what that is, but I can tell you for sure, I know that the Cistercian monks in their monasteries, and remember by 1300, remember I told you about how Bernard joined the order with 30 family members? At Citeaux, He founded the first daughter abbey, the second abbey of the Cistercians at Clairvaux, Bernard of Clairvaux. By the time he died in 1153, there were 300 Cistercian abbeys across Europe, Scandinavia, and into the Holy Land. And by 1300, there were 750 filled with monks and Templars.
I asked God to come through me to do this presentation for you. I prepared a PowerPoint just to get grounded a little bit. And the first image that you see is me and Joshua Tree giving thanks to God. Now, there's a lot of talk about what God is, who God is. And in one of my channels with Spirit, which I call Brilliant Essence, which is where we all come from, we are all brilliant essences, they talked about the fact that God, in the image that I see, is like the Hindus call the great sun. Now imagine that all that is a huge sun. It encompasses absolutely everything, everything, the known, the unknown, you, me, Gaia, everything. This sun decided to self-express. It is divine consciousness come into form to self-express.
So welcome. Thank you for coming tonight. And welcome to the opening ceremony night for the Gift and the Shift Convergence Conference. And my name is Kelly Alexander, and I will be your host this evening. And I want to thank you all for keeping this energy of silence and holding such beautiful space. We are in ceremony tonight, so thank you for doing that.
To observe and embrace all that you come across. The beauty of the distances are not there, for our heart has the ability to go wherever Spirit allows for you to go.
Ahiana, hi, hi, no, yana, hoanea. Ahiana, hi, hi, no, yana, hoanea. Eana, hene, oe. Ahiana, hi, hi.
In the Inca tradition, in 1992 to 2012 is when we start to experience the new sun, the sun rising. So after December 21st, when we celebrate the Kapah Raimi, the festivity, the fiesta of the power, we start to see the full sun.
How the energies to settle in perfect balance. Namaste.